Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. I'm Adam, and today we've got a very special topic lined up. It's something I wish I had learned earlier in life, and honestly, I think most people listening will probably nod their heads in agreement. And of course, I'm not doing this alone. I've got my amazing co-host, Emma, with me. How are you, Emma?
Hi, Adam. I'm doing great, thank you. I've actually been looking forward to this conversation all week because, let's be honest, this is one of those subjects everyone secretly complains about when they grow up. We spend years in school memorizing math formulas, chemical reactions, and dates from history, and then suddenly, boom, you graduate and realize, hold on, nobody taught me how to file taxes, how to cook a proper meal, or even how to manage stress.
Exactly. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying subjects like math, chemistry, or literature are useless. They absolutely sharpen your brain and give you foundational knowledge. But real life? Real life throws you curveballs that no textbook equation is going to solve for you.
So true. And that's why today, we're going to dive deep into the kinds of life skills schools should be teaching alongside the traditional subjects. Things like time management, self-care, self-defense, communication, cooking, financial literacy, all the practical, everyday things that make you a capable adult.
Exactly. And we're not just going to list them. We're going to share stories, examples, and really dig into why each one matters. So let's jump in. Number 1, time management.
Okay, Adam, let's kick things off with time management. Because honestly, time is the most valuable resource we have, right? Money you can earn again, but time? Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, and yet schools rarely teach you how to manage your own time. They schedule your day for you, they tell you when to do things, but they never actually teach you the skill of planning, prioritizing, and staying organized.
Exactly. Imagine if kids learned at age 10 how to use a calendar, how to break a big project into smaller steps, and how to set realistic goals. Instead of growing up and becoming stressed out adults who procrastinate everything, they'd already know the basics of productivity.
Let me give you an example. When I started university, I had this massive research paper due, and like most students, I kept putting it off until the last week. I remember staying up 3 nights in a row, barely eating, barely sleeping, and still turning in something half-baked. And you know what's funny? If someone had just taught me back in school how to map out the steps, research first, draft later, revise at the end, I would have avoided so much stress.
Same here. I think almost everyone has that last-minute panic story. And it's not that we're lazy. It's that no one ever showed us how to manage time properly. If schools taught this as a subject, I think we'd see a generation that's not only more productive, but also healthier and less stressed.
Which brings us nicely to the next point, health and self-care. Schools usually have physical education classes, but it's mostly about running laps or playing sports. That's not enough. Kids should be learning how to take care of their bodies and their minds in everyday life.
Right. And mental health is such a big part of this. Anxiety, depression, stress, these are things so many people struggle with silently because no one ever explained how to deal with them. Imagine if kids had classes on mindfulness, breathing exercises, journaling, or even just how to ask for help when they feel overwhelmed.
Let me share a story. Back when I started my first job, I thought working late into the night and skipping meals was just part of the hustle. I was exhausted, irritable, and unhealthy. It wasn't until much later that I learned about work-life balance and proper self-care. If I'd known these things in school, I probably would have saved myself from a lot of health issues.
Yes, and the same goes for food. When I went to college, I didn't know how to cook, so I lived off instant noodles for months. I felt tired all the time, my skin broke out, and I just wasn't at my best. If schools had taught me even the basics of nutrition and cooking, I would have avoided that completely.
Number 3, self-defense. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention.
Oh, yes. And let's be clear, it's not about violence. It's about safety, awareness, and confidence.
Exactly. Simple self-defense techniques, learning how to stay aware of your surroundings, and knowing how to de-escalate situations, these are skills that could literally save someone's life.
And it's not just about physical safety, it also builds confidence. When you know you can handle yourself, you walk differently, you carry yourself differently, that confidence alone often prevents problems.
Right. Imagine if schools offered martial arts or basic self-defense as regular classes. Students would not only get fitter, but they'd also feel more secure.
Totally. When I was younger, I took a short self-defense workshop, and honestly, those 2 weeks gave me more confidence walking home at night than anything else. I always thought, why isn't this a standard part of school?
Number 4, manners and communication.
Okay, Adam, let's kick things off with manners and communication.
Oh yes, the so-called soft skills. And honestly, they're harder than people think. I've met people who are geniuses in their field, but completely fail at communicating or working with others.
Exactly. Saying please and thank you, listening without interrupting, respecting cultural differences. These things seem simple, but they shape how people perceive you.
And communication goes further. Schools should teach how to give a presentation, how to write an email, how to negotiate, and even how to handle disagreements respectfully.
Let me give you a quick story. I once had a boss who was brilliant at his job, but he had zero communication skills. He'd give instructions that made no sense, then get angry when people misunderstood him. The whole team was stressed. If he'd had proper communication training, he would have been an incredible leader.
Yes, and on the flip side, I've seen people with average technical skills but excellent communication skills rise to leadership positions because they know how to connect with others. Number 5, cooking.
Speaking of skills schools overlook, let's talk about cooking.
Oh yes, cooking is survival. But it's also one of life's greatest joys. Knowing how to prepare your own meals not only keeps you healthy, but also saves you money.
And cooking isn't just about food. It's about creativity and connection. Think about family dinners or inviting friends over. Food brings people together.
Exactly. And it's not just boiling pasta or frying eggs. Imagine if schools taught kids how to make affordable, balanced meals with real ingredients. That knowledge would stick for life. I'll admit, when I first lived alone, I was the frozen pizza and takeout guy. But when I finally learned how to cook, it changed everything. My health, my wallet, even my confidence.
Same here. Cooking classes in school would honestly be as valuable as math classes. Number 6, financial literacy. Now, let's move to a big one, money. Financial literacy is one of those areas where schools really fail us.
Absolutely. Most of us graduate knowing how to calculate the area of a triangle, but having no clue how credit cards, loans, or taxes work.
Yes, kids should learn how to budget, why saving early matters, how compound interest works, and even the basics of investing.
And let's be honest, financial stress is one of the biggest sources of anxiety for adults. Teaching these skills early would prevent so many problems later in life.
Completely agree. I wish I'd learned about credit scores in school. Instead, I had to figure it out the hard way.
7, critical thinking and problem solving. Now, Emma, this next one might be my favorite. Critical thinking. Because honestly, in the world we live in today, where we're flooded with information, news, social media posts, you need critical thinking to survive.
Absolutely. You know, schools often focus on memorization, like, here's the formula, here's the historical date, repeat it back on the exam. But they rarely teach kids how to question things, how to analyze, how to think for themselves.
Right. Imagine if we gave students real-life problems to solve. Not just math word problems, but scenarios like, you have a limited budget. How would you plan a family trip? Or, you see a piece of news online. How do you check if it's true?
Exactly. That would prepare them for actual adulthood. Because in real life, the answers aren't in the back of a textbook. You need to figure them out.
I'll tell you a funny story. Back when I first started working, someone forwarded me an email that looked like it was from my bank. It asked me to confirm my password. I almost fell for it. Later, I realized it was a phishing scam. If I'd had better critical thinking training in school, like how to spot red flags online, I wouldn't have almost handed over my bank account.
Oh, wow. I think we've all been there. And that's the thing. Critical thinking isn't just academic. It's survival in a digital world. Kids should learn how to analyze arguments, detect bias, and weigh evidence. That's what makes you an informed adult.
Exactly. 8. Emotional intelligence. And this connects to another huge one, emotional intelligence.
Yes! Emotional intelligence, or EQ, is just as important as IQ. Sometimes even more important.
Think about it. Understanding your own emotions, managing stress, being empathetic towards others, handling conflict, these skills shape your relationships, your career, your mental health.
Exactly. I've seen workplaces where people with average technical skills but high EQ became great leaders. And I've also seen super smart people fail because they couldn't handle criticism or couldn't work with a team.
Yes. Imagine if kids were taught how to recognize emotions, like, okay, I'm feeling frustrated, here's how I can calm down, instead of just exploding. Or how to listen when a friend is sad instead of brushing it off.
I'll share a personal moment. In high school, I had a friend who was clearly going through something, but I didn't know how to talk to him about it. I was awkward, avoided the topic, and in the end, he felt isolated. Later in life, I realized if I'd been taught empathy and how to check in on someone, I could have been a much better friend.
That's powerful. And honestly, teaching EQ in schools could change society. We'd raise kinder, more resilient people. 9. Civic responsibility and citizenship. All right, here's one that might not sound exciting at first, but it's super important.
Oh, yes. I love this one because let's be real. Most kids graduate without really understanding how government works, how laws are made, or why voting even matters.
Right. They might memorize the branches of government for a test, but they don't know how to register to vote, how taxes are used, or how to get involved in their communities.
Exactly. Imagine if schools taught practical civic education, how to read a ballot, what your rights are, how to spot fake political news, and why your voice matters.
I remember my first time voting. I had no idea how the ballot worked. I was standing there stressed, trying to figure it out. That's crazy, right? We should all be prepared for that moment.
Totally. If we want engaged, responsible citizens, schools need to prepare them, not just to pass a test, but to participate in democracy.
10. Practical life skills. Emma, and finally, let's talk about the little everyday skills, the stuff adults always laugh about not knowing.
Yes. Like how to change a flat tire, how to fix a leaking tap, how to sew a button back on a shirt, or even how to do basic first aid.
Exactly. These things sound small, but they add up. Being able to handle small emergencies makes you more independent.
I'll admit, I was 25 the first time I had to change a tire, and I had no idea what I was doing. I sat there on the side of the road watching YouTube tutorials on my phone. If I'd learned that in school, it would have saved me so much stress.
I have a story too. My sink once started leaking, and I immediately thought, oh no, I need to call the plumber. Then I remembered a friend had once shown me how to tighten a pipe. It took me 5 minutes to fix it. I felt like a superhero.
Exactly. It's empowering. Schools should absolutely teach these simple survival skills.
11. Digital literacy.
Can I add one more to the list?
Go for it.
Digital literacy. In today's world, this is non-negotiable. Kids are growing up with phones and laptops, but many don't really know how to use technology safely or effectively.
Yes, that's a big one. They know how to scroll TikTok, but do they know how to protect their privacy, avoid scams, or create a strong password?
Exactly. And also how to use digital tools for learning, productivity, and creativity, not just entertainment.
Yeah, digital literacy should be as fundamental as reading and writing in schools today.
12. Creativity and innovation.
Another thing that schools often suppress, creativity.
Yes, everyone is creative as a child, but by the time we finish school, many of us have lost that spark because the system rewards conformity, not imagination.
Right. Imagine if schools gave space for kids to explore their creative side through art, music, design, writing, or even creative problem solving. Innovation starts with creativity. And honestly, creativity is what drives progress. The world doesn't change because people memorize facts. It changes because people think outside the box.
Okay, here's a sensitive one. Relationships.
Ah, yes, this is so overlooked but so essential.
Kids grow up without any guidance on how to build healthy relationships, how to communicate with partners, how to resolve conflicts, or even how to respect boundaries. Then they stumble into adulthood and it's messy.
Right. Schools could teach about respect, consent, emotional needs, and building strong connections. It's not about teaching romance, it's about teaching human interaction.
Exactly. And it would save so many people from heartbreak in toxic relationships if they learned the basics early.
Wow, Emma, we've covered so much today. Time management, self-care, self-defense, communication, cooking, financial literacy, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, civic responsibility, practical life skills, digital literacy, creativity, and relationships.
Yeah, and the sad truth is most of us had to learn these the hard way, through mistakes, failures, and stress. But imagine if schools gave kids this toolkit from the start.
We'd have a generation that's healthier, smarter, more confident, and definitely more prepared for real life.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners, think about the skills you wish you'd learned in school. Maybe it's cooking. Maybe it's managing money. Maybe it's communication. Whatever it is, know that it's never too late to start learning.
Yes, education doesn't end at graduation. The real learning begins when you take charge of your own life.
Well said. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. This has been such a meaningful discussion.
Yeah, and we hope you found it helpful. Don't forget to share your thoughts with us. We'd love to hear what skills you think schools should teach. Until next time, take care and keep learning.